2 weeks on from an outstanding lights to flag victory for Lando Norris, Formula One returns to Brazil for the penultimate sprint weekend of the year. The championship battle is tighter than ever, with only 1 point separating McLaren's pair and Max Verstappen lurking just 36 points behind. Weather shook up proceedings last year and will be a constant threat throughout this, the 21st race weekend of the season. Hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekend warm-up here from the pit lane in Sao Paulo. I'm James Hinchcliffe, joined alongside by Alex Jacques and Jolyon, who you know well from commentary. And this weekend, we're joined by Powell, championship-winning racing driver, Formula Renault, F3, GB3 winner in the W Series. Guys, thanks so much for joining us here in Brazil. And Jacques, let's start with you. This race has so much history. The drivers love coming here. The fans are so passionate. What is it that makes this event so special?
Well, you listed a couple of reasons there, Hinch. We've got unpredictable weather, we've got an amazing atmosphere, and best of all, you can win from pretty much anywhere on the grid. So it's one of the great variables of the season.
It really is. It can throw up very unpredictable results here. And Jolyon, from the driver's seat, it's a challenging track, it's a technical track. What are the big challenges for the drivers from behind the wheel?
I think braking's a big one. There's really fast sections. We're standing on one on the main straight, which leads into the center S, a critical braking zone, and your best overtaking opportunity. Then a nice long straight with the DRS down towards turn 4, before you find a technical infield section. But the lap is so short, it's not long before you come around and do it all again.
Now we're here in the penultimate sprint weekend of the year. Of course, sprint format, you go from one practice session straight into sprint qualifying. Saturday, you've got the sprint race straight into Grand Prix qualifying, and then, of course, the Grand Prix on Sunday. And Alice, as a driver, is this a format that you would have liked to have tried?
Probably unpopular opinion, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, just because you've got one practice session, you've got to get it right. And then actually through the junior categories in you know, F2, F3, this is what you get. One practice session, straight into qualifying. It makes it exciting. It's more pressure for the drivers, and particularly at a circuit like right now with changeable weather, throws up anything.
I love that. Definitely a big challenge for the drivers. It is really, truly now crunch time in this championship with just 4 rounds remaining. We talked about the 1 point difference between the drivers on top. Max Verstappen has closed the gap to the lead for the last 5 Grand Prix weekends, even with that incredible victory from Lando Norris last time out in Mexico. Let's go see how that race unfolded.
From the heart of Mexico City, this is Formula One, the driver's title in the balance. We leave the line and we're underway for the Mexico City Grand Prix. Say goodbye to Lando Norris. Hamilton tried to attack. Watch Max Verstappen, who's locking up, going deep and off the road. Lando Norris keeps the lead.
Disastrous start for Piastri.
Oh, that's side by side, the 2 old rivals.
Max took a shortcut.
Verstappen has P3 for the moment. Hamilton locking up and having to take the escape road.
I got pushed flat.
Oliver Behrman, Max Verstappen is the room. What is going on in Mexico City? Verstappen driving it like a shopping trolley.
This is like a go-kart race in Formula One.
We have 10-second penalty. 10 seconds to stay.
Piastri's going for it, trying to slow the McLaren down.
Finally, just decided to send it. Verstappen has a shot.
In DRS, the Ferrari under pressure for Max Verstappen.
Let's go. That's why we come racing.
Got a yellow flag out, signs pulled off the road. The virtual safety car is deployed to neutralise the race. Lando Norris comes across the line and wins the Mexico City Grand Prix. Oliver Behrman, P4.
Yes, come on! Good job!
Lando Norris takes the lead at the Formula One World Championship.
An incredible weekend, dominating performance from Lando Norris. And Alex, is that potentially Lando's best Grand Prix weekend of his career?
I think so. If you look at the margin being 30 seconds and the fact that he hadn't won since Budapest, we've had such a tight fight, but he's not converted a couple of chances, so he knew he needed that. Obviously, it comes with a symbolism of getting past his teammate, but I think it's the nature that he was so far up the road compared to everyone else that will give him a lot of momentum in the run-in.
And speaking of momentum, Alice, do you think that it's fair to say the momentum really is on his side right now?
I would say in a nutshell, yes. You know, but critically, we've seen how that pendulum can swing. Several races ago, we thought, oh, it's with Piastri, and look at it now.
Now, Jolyon, in that race, a lot of talk about that first turn, penalties, no penalties. Lewis Hamilton saying no consistency, no transparency. How did you see the calls from the stewards on that one?
I mean, I can understand the frustration because 5 cars went through the first corner and it was a chicane. They all got away with it without getting a penalty. Hamilton, of course, did get a penalty for lap 6 cutting a chicane. But it's a bit of a different one. There is a first corner chicane here as well, so it's potentially not completely ridiculous to look at it before this weekend, because the same thing could come up. Personally, I thought Charles Leclerc got away with one. I thought he overtook Hamilton off the track, which is probably why Lewis particularly was perturbed. None of the other 4 gained anything, so I think that was the rest of it was fine.
Yeah, interesting to see if it does come into play here this weekend with that first turn. But let's head now to interviews from the top 3 in the championship.
Of course, I hope to have another weekend like Mexico, which will be tricky, just because it's good competition. But I mean, I would say I expect also to be strong, to have another good weekend. But you never know, just with the weather and the conditions here, it's easy for it to go anyone's way.
You know, the car's not really changed in terms of new parts to it or new setups for a few months now. So I think we've got a much better understanding of what differences there were in the last couple of weekends and what I needed to change, what I needed to adapt. So I think I've got a much better idea of kind of what I'm looking for now. You know, there's always the question of whether I'll need to use that or not, but I think I'm much more confident that I've got those tools available to me rather than you know, kind of relying on what's worked for the majority of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we just try to do everything we can till the end. I mean, it's 36 points. It's still you know, a decent gap. I think over the last few rounds we have done a very good job as a team. But of course, if we want to close that down further, we need to be ahead constantly now, and that will be, I think, a big challenge. But we'll see. I mean, I'm just excited to be here, and hopefully it will be a good weekend for us.
Great to hear from your top 3 in the championship. And, you know, Jolyon, there's 1 point in between the top 2. They've done a great job so far of taking care of each other, keeping this sort of nice guy routine up. But at some point, does it change? And now that it's so close, is this the point?
Between the top 2?
Yeah.
I don't think it is, because they're both worried about Max still. So, I mean, Max is 35 and 36 points back. These guys know at McLaren that if they go to war with each other, they risk doing what happened accidentally at the start of the Austin sprint, and they both don't score. And if Max gets one big score, he will become the championship favourite, if the McLarens don't. If that gap comes down to less than 10 points, or even less than 20 at this stage, you're thinking he is on the charge, and he's a 4-time world champ. So I think they can't afford to run into each other. I think they can't afford to run into Max, because then there's 3 people for this battle. If 2 of them crash, the other one suddenly has a slam dunk chance at nailing it.
And Max already sort of discusses that it's a tall order. He says, I'm going to need a little bit of luck. But Alex, is this kind of the inflection race for the championship? If it goes well for Max, he's still very much in it. But if it doesn't, does his battle really end here?
This is the race where you can get the big swings, though, because we've got the variable with the weather. We're in the desert for the final 3 Grand Prix of the year. We could have cool temperatures in Vegas, but we know what we're going to get in Qatar. We know what we're going to get in Abu Dhabi. We don't know what we're going to get when it comes to Sunday. That is an opportunity for Verstappen. He's just trying to hit home runs. He's got no right to win this title. He shouldn't even be in the battle. So he's got no pressure at all. If he can get there, one of the great all-time championship wins. But if you speak to the drivers around here, they're still saying it's going to be one of the McLaren boys.
And he's right that he has to now beat them every race. It's 9 points per weekend that he needs to take out of both of them at this stage. There's 4 races left, 4 race weekends left. Obviously, the sprint here is another opportunity, but that really should be 1 or 2 points. So he has to finish ahead. If he finishes behind for the win or for second, I think it's done. That's the pressure on Max.
Is it an advantage or a disadvantage that he doesn't have to worry about his teammate in this case?
He's never worried about his teammate anyway, has he?
But in terms of being able to take points off the other 2, would it actually be more helpful if Yuki was a little bit more inserted in this conversation?
Oh, it would be helpful. We saw it last year in the sprint where Oscar gave way for Lando, and that was the little bit of help. And if McLaren backed one horse, that horse would become an overwhelming favourite, because they would have one helping the other. The leg up would be enough, I'm sure. Red Bull don't have the chance to do that because Yuki's not competitive enough. So as it is, it's not really an advantage or a disadvantage. There are 3 independents effectively going for the title.
So you talk about McLaren backing one horse. Alice, there was an interview with Andrea Stella, Zach Brown this weekend saying we would rather lose the Drivers' Championship than pick a favorite and back one driver. Is that the right approach to be taking? Should they have made that decision races ago and really tried to put the weight behind one?
No, I don't think so. You know, the teams, they like to win the Constructors. That's done and dusted. Right, go on, boys. It's your turn to fight it out. And I think you need to give them that equal opportunity. You know, people say, well, have they? Going forward, they've got to give them both the fairest shot, and the drivers can tussle it out on track.
Winning the Constructors and losing the drivers is a bit naff from this point.
How much would it
though, isn't
hurt if they lost it?
I would not be happy if I was Andrea Stella, Zach Brown, to not win the Drivers' Championship at this stage. I know they got the Constructors, but they've had the dominant car. They have two drivers, both of which have the best chance of doing it. So if they somehow fumble it, it's bad. But to your point, they're so even that it's very difficult to back one. The perfect sort of solution was a Hamilton-Bottas, where Valtteri was very good, but he was never going to beat Lewis over the season, so he became the number 2 driver in the supporting role. Checo had it to an extent with Max early on, where he was close enough to be a help, but he could play the second fiddle in 2021. Here, it's too tough to call, so that's McLaren's point of view, is they don't want to completely, for want of a better word, what should we go with, offend one of their drivers.
Yeah.
Because
they would leave the team.
They'd leave the team, and they want these guys for the future.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you can say, oh, we'd never pick a favourite. You cannot pick a favourite.
Right.
And you've got to remember, Oscar's in his 3rd year. He's had a big leap forward, year 2 to year 3, which has given them this headache. If we have a rerun of 2024, Lando's the firm favourite, and that's why we had team orders here 1 year ago.
But if one of them has a couple of bad weekends, let's say here and let's say Vegas, and it becomes a 2-horse race, Max versus Lando or Oscar, then the second one can play the championship game, and that will become a big advantage for that other McLaren driver. If they're both still in it, then it's still 3 going to war.
They say they won't do it unless it's mathematically impossible for one to win it. So we'll see if they do have one.
That was the ridiculous situation of last year as well with Hungary, wasn't it?
Right.
But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
We will. Weather, of course, always a factor here. We know Max Verstappen's probably doing his rain dance. Alice, for you, is there anyone else that maybe stands out as someone that could truly benefit from a wet weekend?
I actually think Lando, because we saw last year, Oscar, he struggles a little bit in the rain compared to Lando Norris, and this time last year, it was exactly that. You know, he was behind Oscar after the pits and then come out and was like, you know, I'm faster. Got past quite easily, but I think Max will be the massive standout because that drive last year from 17th on the grid was, incredible. Okay, a little bit of help maybe with the timing of the red flag, but still absolutely insane.
And you guys know what it's like as well. When you've had that last year and it rains again, you're thinking, all right, lads, come on, bring it on. I can do this again. The confidence that you have, and also the fear factor that the McLaren guys will have, knowing that Max did that last year. It was one of the great drives.
And when you have nothing to lose as well, I mean, Max has to push. He has to go for it. The other two, they need to push, but you still kind of have to be a little bit protective, don't you?
I think even Max, even if he has something to lose, how often do we say, he doesn't care. He wants to win. He wants to charge forward. And I think
he
this
races
weekend,
on instinct, doesn't
exactly,
he? Exactly,
he can smell blood. He definitely can smell blood.
And when you look at the advantage that he had over everybody in the wet last year, it almost seems like it's a foregone conclusion if it's wet.
And actually, if you're driving in the wet and you have things to lose, like a championship, it becomes so difficult. This circuit, I think, is the hardest to drive on the calendar in the wet. I had the misfortune of doing it in 2016. It was my most miserable race of my life. It was so bad. Max thrived on that day. He's thrived here before in the wet. And I'm thinking in 2007, we drew the parallels last time out where Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso lost the championship at the last round. But there was a race in Fuji where it was absolutely soaked, and it was a couple of races before. And the McLarens were neck and neck. Fernando biffed it into the wall, and that was his chance gone. And if it rains on this sort of circuit, it is going to be the jeopardy for one of the McLarens to stuff their whole season by putting it in the barrier.
Yeah, certainly could happen. Rain is on the forecast for at least Saturday for sure. Last year, that was the case in Grand Prix qualifying. In that instance, it was Lando Norris who took the pole position in his McLaren. Jolyon, why don't you walk us through that very impressive pole lap on the intermediates?
Yeah, let's have another look at this, because this was such a treacherous day, and we may have the same. He's over 190 miles per hour still as he hits the brakes for the Senna S, down to 3rd gear, and then it's just trying to measure getting on the gas through the final part here, and look at the way he's fighting the car, desperate for this final lap of qualifying that gave him pole. So we're building the speed again. We don't hit 8th gear down towards Decido del Lago now, 180 miles per hour. and shifting it down. It's a double apex left-hander. Stay clear of that curb on the exit because the traction zones are so difficult. There's actually a tiny feather there for Lando at turn 5. As we head up towards another double apex, this is Ferradura, the right-hander, cresting the hill, and then we hit the brakes for turn 8. Stay away from the white lines, heading down towards Pinheirino. Long left-hander, difficult corner, the water collects here as well, and you've got another difficult section before coming into a lock-up inducing Pico de Pato. Tough right-hander, easy to lose it in the dry, let alone the wet. Another difficult traction zone over Megulio, and you can see the way that the rear is trying to break away. That'll be the same in the dry, but much easier flat out, of course. Junsao is the final corner, and listen to Lando getting on the gas here. He just has to be patient with it as he now goes through the gears. By the way, this kink here is barely flat in wet conditions as well. He uses all the road. It's one of those things you think it's going to be simple, just flat out to the line. It's treacherous, Hinch, and it's always fun to watch these guys around here in the wet.
The only thing more treacherous than a lap run there is making sure you get all those corner names right. That was impressive.
He loves it. He's been waiting
doing
for
his
this
homework.
weekend.
Yeah.
He's been waiting for this weekend
You don't
for a
speak
long
Portuguese?
time.
I don't, but I learned a few things just there, so appreciate it. We mentioned that because it's a sprint weekend, it's just the one practice. So, Jolyon, I'm going to start with you. Just how difficult is it when you only have 1 hour of practice to prepare for the short runs in qualifying, the long runs in the race? Just what's that challenge like for teams and drivers?
It's very difficult. I mean, Alice already touched on it at the top. In a way, it's kind of exciting because you need to be on it from the first lap. There is the fact that the sprint is there's fewer points. You don't want to be left behind the Mercedes, behind the Ferraris for the top guys, because then you're starting to lose obviously more. But then they do have a chance to recalibrate after the sprint with another qualifying. Nonetheless, for the guys in the championship fight, you've got to be on it. You've got to hope the car works. It can be you're coming towards the end of the season as well. Some parts a little bit long on life. And if you miss a bit of running in that 1 hour of practice, you can be a little bit stuffed.
And crucially, as the weekend goes on, if you miss a bit of running in the sprint race like the McLarens did in Austin, that cost them with their Grand Prix setup of the car as well. Couldn't be as aggressive with running the car low to the ground. So even if it doesn't go to plan in the practice session or the qualifying session, you've got to get the laps in when it comes to the sprint.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see who benefits, who has the advantage coming into this. One driver who had a great weekend last time out in Mexico City was Charles Leclerc, bringing home that podium. His week got even better as he proposed to his girlfriend. She said yes. Congratulations to the happy couple. But he spoke to us in the pen a little bit earlier today.
I think it's going to be very close. I think where I expect Mercedes to be very, very strong is probably Las Vegas. They were very strong last year, and I'm sure they will be this year. For the other tracks, I think it's going to be close. So yeah, and we are basically equal on points. There's also Red Bull in the fight, with Max especially, that picked up quite a bit the pace since the upgrades. I think it was in Monza, so it's going to be a tough last part of the season. But again, we have momentum on our side, and I hope it can continue as long as possible.
Well, as much as we talk about the tight battle at the top of the Drivers' Championship, for P2 in the Constructors, it is equally as tight. Just 1 point between Ferrari and Mercedes, Red Bull rather, another 9 points back from that. Alex, let's start with you. How impressive is it for you when you think about the fact Ferrari is P2 in this Constructors battle, 0 wins on the season, and only one driver's even made it onto the podium? Does that really highlight how consistent they've been?
It's incredible, isn't it, when you consider that the drivers would happily be 4th in the Constructors, but have a couple of wins each. They'd much rather have it that way round. But yeah, consistency for Ferrari, but they're way off. If you consider they were only 14 points back last year compared to McLaren, it's a P2, but it's not a close P2.
Alice, kind of weather notwithstanding, coming in here, who do you like better for a strong result here in the battle between Ferrari and Mercedes?
Sure. Good question. I think if it's raining, you've got to look at Max, but he needs Yuki there. But saying that, Yuki had a strong qualifying here last year. Okay, it's a different car, same family, but slightly different. So I'll be looking at them, but I think George Russell, he's quite handy around here, so in Mercedes as well. Antonelli, who knows? It's obviously first time racing around here for him. So I would be looking at those two. With Ferrari, I think it's going to be hard to say because Lewis Hamilton's he's struggling at the moment. It's a circuit where he's taken 3 victories, but this year, compared to Charles Leclerc, he's just been nowhere.
Yeah, and George has won here before. He was strong in the wet before kind of getting caught out by that VSC last year. Jolyon, Red Bull, the fact that they're even in this conversation with essentially only one driver scoring the points, I mean, how impressive is what Max is doing, but then also how bad a look is that for Yuki Tsunoda, and is this going to have an impact on the decision that Red Bull eventually has to make as to who their drivers are going to be moving forward?
It has to, doesn't it? As a driver, you're always compared to your teammate. Now, we know the teammate comparison to Max Verstappen is brutal, but Yuki has scored 8% of Red Bull's points. Not even double figures there, so he's really barely contributed. Max is doing so much heavy lifting. But it's interesting if you look at the other teams as well, there is a big role for the lead driver. George has done a great job. Kimi Antonelli just beat him for the first time in a race on Sunday. But even if you look at Ferrari, the reason they're there is because Lewis has done the better job of the second drivers. But you know how many times Lewis has beaten Charles this year in race trim? 3 times.
3 times all year.
3 times. It's
wow.
It's amazing. One of them is Baku, where he was actually ordered to give the place back. The other ones were Imola, where there was safety car interference, and Silverstone, where Charles pitted on the formation lap. So really, it shows Lewis is getting closer. You said he's been really good here in the past. He's at least bagging good points to be behind Charles, but Ferrari could really do with him having better execution, which he didn't do in Mexico.
Yeah, a team that's definitely performing very well given the performance level of the car. Another team that's been performing very well is Williams, sitting 5th in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. Alex Jacques had a question for Alex Albon a little bit earlier.
You had some epic laps in the wet here last year, but then it didn't entirely go to plan at the end. If we get wet conditions again this year, would you alter your approach, or would you take the same risks?
Yeah, I had it was going, as you said, it was going great until it wasn't, and got caught out. It's an interesting track here. There's a lot of rivers. Last year was very bumpy. It'll be interesting to see with the track resurface how much that's gone away. And the tarmac's a little bit strange. So, yeah, I think realistically I would have done the same. Actually, don't want to go back a whole year, but we found some issues that contributed to that crash. But yeah, I like it. I prefer this track in the wet than in the dry. I think it's got a really nice kind of different lines you can do. I think Max has proved that in many years here. It's a nice one to race as well. Just the visibility can be a bit tough, but
always great to hear from Alex Albon. I actually had the chance to sit down with him for a more in-depth interview, which we'll play during the pre-race before Sunday. And also, while we're talking Williams, quick shout out to Carlos Sainz, not feeling well today, missing press activities Thursday at the racetrack. Hopefully he's feeling better when we hit the track tomorrow for practice. Now, Alice, we look at those points for the team. Comfortable 5th in the Constructors, or do they still have to worry a little bit with some unknown results? Thinking back to what happened with Alpine here last year, for example.
Again, a classic with it can throw up anything here. We didn't expect to see 2 Alpines on the podium. Don't think we're going to get it this year, but who knows? But I think out of the teams that we've got sort of that end of the Constructors, you know, your Aston Martin, your Haas, Williams, I would say, have got the strongest lineup with Albon and Sainz. And as Alex said, he loves this track. Sainz, maybe he's feeling a bit under the weather, won't be able to perform 100%, but I think they'll be looking a strong contender to keep that position.
And Jolyon, just behind them, 6th through 9th in the Constructors, covered by just 12 points. When you're talking about 2nd, 3rd, the big teams, an extra 10 million here or there, what's that to them? But for these midfield teams, that's an awful lot of money, and you could jump 2, even 3 spots with one strong weekend. What's the pressure like inside those midfield teams right now?
Well, they're looking at each other every single session, every qualifying, thinking, okay, we're good, we've got a car in the top 10, but where's the Aston Martin, where's the Racing Bulls? Where are the threats going to be for Sunday? Williams are definitely going to be 5th. They've done enough now. Well done to them. That fight behind is so close. I think Haas are the team that have got the chance now with the form that they found late on, brought upgrades to Austin. I think they can do it. They need Esteban Ocon to start firing because he got a couple of points in Mexico, but he's not beaten Ollie Behrman in the race trim since Austria. So it's an awfully long time for their lead driver supposedly to be behind Behrman. So Ocon needs to start digging in and matching Behrman, and then I think Haas will do it.
So, JC, we saw a good double-point score from Haas in Mexico. Obviously, we saw that incredible result from Alpine, double podium here last year. Of the races coming up, which team do you think has the best chance of one of those sort of shock double big score performances to really help out that 6th through 9th cause?
Well, you never know, because we come here this year and Alpine, Alice ruled them out, quite understandably so. They got more points this year than when they came to the race last year. So we can't rule anyone out. Isaac Hadjar in the press conference was very downbeat about their chances. He wasn't very happy. The reason that I asked Alex Albon about the risk is they know there's an opportunity for a podium on a day like we saw last year. But you do still have to think about what it's going to be like if you stick it in the hedge and you open the door, and the 5th place that has been Williams all year. So open for everyone. Gabriel Bortoleto believes he can score points again this weekend. They're both of them actually very happy with the balance of the Sauber, and Holt's got form around here as well, previously on pole.
Well, Bortoleto scored points last time out in Mexico, as you say, very much hoping to get some points here at his home Grand Prix. Here for the first time, had the chance to sit down with him for a nice interview. He's a sneak peek at what that's going to look like.
I know there will be a lot of support from the fans and the crowd. Being Brazilian, first time racing, it's going to be incredible. I even struggle to understand a little bit how big is it going to be, the thing. It's definitely going to be one of the most incredible things I will ever experience in my life. I'm not gonna lie, obviously there is a lot of expectations from the Brazilian fans, but I put that pressure on myself as well. You know, I'm not here because I want to finish top 10. I wanna win a race. I want to win titles hopefully one day.
Rest of that interview will be shown a little bit later this weekend. Make sure you follow along all weekend long on F1 TV. And Jolyon, home Grand Prix. Bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? You've been there, you've done it. Did you like the extra pressure? Was there extra pressure? What was it like?
Loved it.
Loved it.
I'd take a home Grand Prix every race if I could. You just get a buzz out of the crowd. You probably have your friends and family watching as well, which will be a treat for them. And the Brazilian crowd is good as well. I remember I was here when Felipe Massa, who was the last Brazilian in Formula One still, I think, thought he was retiring. He wasn't. He came back for another year. But he didn't know Nico Rosberg was going to quit at that point. But he crashed out at the final corner and walked back in tears in the rain. And the reception he got was just incredible. Obviously, Bortoleto's at the different end of his career, but the first home race as well is an incredible buzz. And you dream of having some points as well, because you know you'll just be cheered like a legend.
It was interesting hearing Kimi Antonelli's take after Monza, saying maybe did a little bit too much, maybe promised too much to too many people. I wonder if Gabby's had any discussions with him about how to handle that home Grand Prix. Another driver that's very popular here, we saw it last year. You're already seeing the signs and the flags going up around the grandstands on a Thursday. Colapinto.
Yeah.
For Alpine. AJ, what are you hearing about him in the paddock? Rumors that maybe the deal's done. He's going to be coming back with Alpine for 26.
The expectation is that he will continue, and that means that incredible support that he gets around the world will continue. And it doesn't matter if he's scrapping for 16th place. You can hear the Argentine fans in the grandstands. Amazing atmosphere here last year. But yeah, it looks like he's going to get another shot in the Alpine next season.
He's been a bit unlucky as well, because his performances have got better compared to Gasly now that the car is nowhere. I think if he could have got up to speed a bit quicker, obviously he didn't have pre-season, came in after the first 6 rounds. If he could have found that form earlier, I think we would be seeing him in the points already by now. But the car is bad, so if he comes back next year, I'm sure he'll be more competitive.
Yeah, and the team obviously can see things that we can't from the outside. So if that happens, they've got faith in what he can do. We've seen what he can do in a competitive car last year. All right, guys, let's take a look now at what the weekend schedule is for this sprint weekend, the second final sprint weekend of the season. Of course, it all kicks off Friday at 11:15 in first practice, then straight into sprint qualifying, 3:15 local time as you head to Saturday. Of course, the pre-sprint show into the sprint race at 11 a.m. local. Stick around for the post-sprint show before we head into qualifying. Always the pre-qualifying show, then 3 o'clock for Grand Prix qualifying. And then, of course, the big show on Sunday. Your pre-race is going to kick off at 1 p.m. local for the Grand Prix starting at 2. And as always, make sure you stick around for the post-race show. Lots of analysis, interviews, and we'll pick apart all the, hopefully, madness that we saw throughout the Grand Prix weekend. Guys, just final thoughts heading into the weekend. What are you most looking forward to seeing?
Oh, some rain. I think we're going to get it, and I think we're going to have a great battle with Max and Lando. And I hope Oscar can keep it up there, because we want a 3-way fight, don't we?
We sure do.
Yep.
Do you, Jolyon? Do you want a 3-way fight?
I want more, but I will accept 3 at this stage. Oscar needs to bounce back. He's in a bit of trouble with his form, so I want to see Oscar on better form. And honestly, we get great races in the dry here. So rain or shine, we're in for a good one.
It's a track that's known for a lot of passes. That's why we've had sprint races here every single year we've had the format. JC, what do you have your eye on?
Yeah, I'm hoping for a dry sprint and a wet Grand Prix, or a wet sprint and a dry Grand Prix, so we get the best of both worlds.
Say that again?
That's the joy. Yeah, I think it was the right way around. Yeah, it's a wonderful circuit, but I think this is going to be the deciding weekend for the championship. I think it's all on the line this weekend.
I think you're absolutely right. It's going to be a pivotal one. Could be a pivotal one in F1 Fantasy as well. Don't forget to play. Lots of points available with a sprint weekend. Maybe a good weekend to use some chips. And don't forget about Russell's mini league that is still running as well. All right, finally, we had what you're looking forward to, but now I got to do it. I got to ask you your predictions for the weekend. We'll come to you last. We'll give you the break of going third. So
I wanted to hear more about Russell's mini league. I love the way you did that.
I'll tell you all about it offline.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Shall I do the predictions and start throwing you under the bus? Yeah, I think it's going to be Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and Max Verstappen on the podium.
In that order?
In that order.
Okay.
I think Max wins. I think Lando is second. But I think it's going to be a George Russell P3.
Ooh.
I'm a little bit concerned for Oscar.
In a wet Grand Prix or a dry Grand Prix? Or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Rain or shine, I'm that confident in my predictions.
He stole my answer, basically.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I don't think we'll see Oscar on the podium. I think he'll have a bit of a show. He'll be there, but I don't think he'll be on the podium.
So you don't think this is the turnaround weekend, get back on form, take some points back away from Lando? You don't think it's that?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
He's not got the form around this circuit.
And it's particularly in the rain as well.
But if he can stay in touch, Vegas and Qatar, I wouldn't be having the same prediction. But this one, I think on paper, for me anyway, it's Max and Lando. If Oscar can stay there, that would be a good effort.
On paper is rarely how it plays out here in Formula 1.
What are you saying, Hinch?
I was really hoping to get away without saying anything. I'm going to go Max win, Lando second, Oscar third. Isn't that what you said? It's pretty close.
I went for Lando to win.
Lando to win, okay.
Yeah, I think McLaren are going to be fine if it's dry.
All right. Again, we're very rarely right on this show when it comes to our predictions. They don't really matter. But what does matter is the action that's coming up starting tomorrow. Please make sure you follow along all weekend long on F1 TV. You saw the schedule. So much excitement around this event, so much uncertainty. We have no idea how it's going to play, but we do know it is going to play a huge part in this Drivers' World Championship. Thanks so much for watching Weekend Warm-Up. We'll see you tomorrow.
This is Brazil. Welcome to an iconic venue. It is the hottest ticket in town. The grandstands are full. Formula One goes racing in Sao Paulo. They fight corner after corner. It has seen some incredible moments.
Heavy rain now.
Sao Paulo is drenched once again. Drivers living on their instincts. It is all about raw talent. The man on the charge, the championship leader on the attack, 17th on the grid to the win. Oh, yes! A defining drive. The world champion strikes back.